Witnessing Stages of Human Culture is my story about global citizens who traditionally have always expressed themselves through the tenets and platforms of culture, especially within the precincts of prehistory, Stone Age, ancient history, classical antiquity, post-classical history, Middle Ages, modern history, and/or contemporary history. Metaphorically speaking, my story is analyzed through my lens as an author, student of film, media arts specialist, licensed cultural practitioner, and publisher. My cognition was activated when I focused my lens and frame an extreme close-up on the Neolithic age. A number of things happen. A. I saw explicit detail. B. I was enlightened as to why the same was identified as the New Stone Age. C. The New Stone Age has all of the characteristics of the final stage of cultural evolution or technological development among prehistoric humans who were no longer dependent on hunting, fishing, and gathering wild plants. A further examination of witnessing stages of human culture revealed that these platforms have specificity. This action establishes context and therefore allows me to tell my story about culture through compositional techniques. These techniques comprise drawing attention to the specific detail about this aspect of culture, such as witnessing the stages of human culture that might otherwise have gone unnoticed. For instance, the culture of the Neolithic age included South Indian. Neolithic is characterized by ash mounds from 2500 BC in Karanutta region, expanded later to Tamil Nadu. In East Asia, the earliest sites included the Dagantu culture around 9500 to 9000 BC, Fintishon culture around 7500 to 6100 BC, and Peligan culture around 7000 to 5000 BC. Now that I have focused my lens on witnessing stages of human culture, my story required setting my aperture where it is sharpest, followed by framing more detail. These two actions provided more specificity about the Neolithic age and unearthing the rapid progress in global citizens' life. A. One of the remarkable achievements of the Neolithic period was the invention of the wheel. B. That traditionally the ancient Mesopotamian people are widely believed to have invented the wheel around 4200 to 4000 BC. C. It is also likely to have also been invented independently in China around 2800 BC. D. As a matter of fact, the wheel has changed the world in incredible ways. E. The biggest thing that the wheel has done for us global citizens is the fact that it has given us much easier and faster transportation. F. It has brought us the train, the car, and many other transportation devices. G. This developmental progress highlights the wheel, which was used in horse carts and bullock carts that helped global citizens enormously to carry heavy loads. H. The wheel was also used for spinning and weaving. I. The Neolithic Age began around 12,000 years ago and ended as civilization started to rise around 3,500 BCE. I. During this time, stone tools were further developed, but the invention of agriculture in the form of the agricultural revolution is the most important characteristic of this time because the Neolithic Age citizens' diet was well balanced and depended on what the environment provided each season. J. The advent of agriculture made it possible to support larger groups. Agriculturists lived in more permanent dwellings in areas that were more densely populated than could be supported by the hunter-gatherer lifestyle. K. The advent of agriculture separated Neolithic citizens from their Paleolithic ancestors, and this way of life practiced by the Neolithic Age citizens was also compelling as a subject. It stimulated my cognition in the decision-making process into highlighting this particular aspect of culture by blocking out some areas within the frame of culture timelines as my detailed viewpoint of culture. Correspondingly, what is uniquely interesting about witnessing stages of human culture that although the Stone Age was a broad prehistoric period during which stone was widely used to make implements with an edge, a point, or a percussion surface. Yet, this episode lasted roughly 3.4 million years and ended between 8700 BCE and 2000 BCE with ushered metalworking. The ancient history behaves like a pretext, since it was just an expression which refers to the aggregate of past events from the beginning of writing, not to mention the Roman Empire, which was an ancient culture with a relatively high literacy rate, but many works by its most widely read. Classical antiquity is the period of cultural history between the 8th century BC and the 6th century AD, centered on the Mediterranean Sea, comprising the Messian civilizations of ancient Greece and ancient Rome, known as the Greco-Roman world. Post-classical history, also called post-antiquity era, post-ancient era, or pre-modern era, is a periodization commonly used by the School of World History instead of medieval or Middle Ages, which is roughly synonymous. Gunpowder was developed in China during the post-classical era. Presumably, it appears that during the Middle Ages, the theory formerly stated Newton's third law is from every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Every action has a reaction was at work because classical civilization was transformed by contact with three cultures, namely Germanic invaders, Christianity, and Islam. The Western values of individualism, consensual government, and a recognition of religious differences began to emerge during the Middle Ages. The discipline of archaeology, anthropology, genetics, linguistics, and other disciplines, and for periods since the invention of writing by recorded history, and by secondary sources and studies and contemporary history in English language, historiography is a subject of modern history, also known as world history, is that it describes the historical period from approximately 1945 to the present. Human history is the description of humanity's past. The term contemporary history has been in use at least since the early 19th century. All things being considered, the above chronicles are everything that have ever happened, intertwined with the characteristics and knowledge of a particular group of people, encompassing language, religion, cuisine, social habits, music, and arts, as far as global citizens creating the timeline are aware. These timelines reinforce my story because they have to do with a display of a list of events in chronological order which corroborates witnessing stages of human culture. In closing, it should be noted that as an author, student of film, media arts specialist, licensed cultural practitioner, and publisher, I have used my lens as a tool, metaphorically speaking, to focus and frame witnessing stages of human culture timelines. From the information research, it is implied that traditionally, people from every geographical space have always expressed themselves through platforms of culture, especially within the precincts of prehistory, Stone Age, ancient history, classical antiquity, post-classical history, Middle Ages, modern history, and/or contemporary history. Witnessing stages of human culture has timelines, and there is a symbiotic relationship existing between the platforms, intertwined with a set period of time, and time is managed within timelines or alongside them. Ralph Linton's theory on culture underpins this story. For example, ancestors and descendants of every era would have a collection of ideas and habits which was learned and obviously shared and transmitted and still impact future generations. Witnessing stages of human culture is my story and a pretext that draws our attention to human behavior. It's captured in 1,243 pages, 14 chapters, and framed in ISBN 978 976 9657977.